I will call to order the Parks and Recreation Commission meeting for February 24th. Let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, Ms. McGill, will you do roll call, please?
Chair Longstreet?
Here.
Larimore Hall?
Here.
Burns? Here. Case Spear is not present. Connor? Here. Wiscombe?
Here.
Hockman is not present. Intern Torres Santos is not present.
Okay. Ms. Rapp, do you have any changes to the agenda?
Chair Longstreet, there is one agenda change that that will be discussed in the street tree item, but we are going to recommend that the Commission postpone item 3E. And Tim Downey will discuss that when you get to that point in the report.
Okay, thank you. Any written communications? None? We'll move to public comment then. Any member of the public may address the Commission for up to 1 minute on any subject within the jurisdiction of the Commission that is not scheduled for a public discussion before the Commission. And I have 2 speaker slips. Mr. Rose, would you like to come forward? And Mr. Rose will be followed by Kenneth Locke. Welcome back for your annual visit.
Well, I try to get over here more than once, but Ms. Rapp, Chair Longstreet, and the Commissioner. My name's Chuck Rose. It doesn't mean a thing. I represent Santa Barbara Pony, which does. We're the local baseball organization. We've been partners with the city Parks and Rec for 36 years. Our opening day is a week from this Saturday at McKenzie Park, and we'd like to invite all of you out. I'm not here to talk doomsday. We understand the economy and everything. Our numbers are up. Nobody else's are, but ours are. We're doing something right in concert with you all. We have some ideas for coming years. By the way, our scholarships are double this year. And just so you know, money never keeps a kid from playing in our organization. When we put a kid on scholarship, there are only 3 people know. I know, our treasurer knows, and the kid's parent, nobody else. It's anonymous. But anyway, it's a lot of fun. We got 140 10-year-olds this year. Come on out a week from Saturday, March 6th, and join with us. There'll be breakfast, barbecue, games, skill contests, all kinds of things. First pitch. We have a lot of dignitaries coming, including hopefully all of you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Rose.
I would like to share one thing with you, if I could, because we're awfully proud of it. We've worked on it for a long time. We don't care if a kid plays for us or Goleta or DP or anywhere else, as long as he's playing and off the street. This morning we reached an agreement with Dos Pueblos Little League and Goleta Valley South Little League and Santa Ynez Pony Baseball, so that our 13 and 14 division will be playing a 20-game schedule with all of these other teams. We're making it into a community thing. We'll control it. But what a great opportunity for these youngsters. Anyway, I hope to see you on Saturday.
And what time on Saturday?
It starts around 8:45.
Okay. Great. Well, I hope some of us make it there, but thank you.
Can I scold you a little bit? I mean, it's not nearly as contentious in here as it was last night, but
Yeah.
I came last year.
We try to skate under that.
I don't think any commissioner showed up. Ms. Rapp showed up and Santa showed up. Nobody on the dais showed up. Come on out and join us. See the future of Santa Barbara.
Okay.
There is some good in this town.
There is lots of good in this town, and you're part of it. Thank you very much.
Right.
Thank you for your work.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Locke. Good evening.
My name is Kenneth Locke. I spoke before the city to the public comment and mentioned to them that I'm figuring that religion, God as we've known it, is now obsolete. And actually, we can. What's going to replace it is through athletics. We can actually understand the concept of eternal life, meaningful mind-body, true spiritual relationship, what it means to have a soul. So it's just, I think I'm at the point of actually my website. I deleted this morning, and I have no intentions to bring it back up. I just getting out of the rain, and I just happened to look up on the board in your meeting here. But just to give you, a minute here, the 21st century was meant for us to have eternal life or a relationship with reality through like the arts and then also athletics. But that might not happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Locke. Okay, that closes public comment. And I think it brings us down to Commissioner Committee assignment reports. We don't have any community service this week. Anybody have anything they'd like to report? Ms. Wiscombe.
Yes, Chair Longstreet. I attended my first Street Tree Advisory Committee meeting on the 4th of February. And at the meeting, Mr. Downey reported on the member staff communications. And then we visited sites for several requests, including, I think I have this right, 1 street tree removal request, 2 front yard setback removal requests, and 3 changes or additions requests to the street tree master plan. And some of those will be before us today. On the 10th, do you want me to talk about the Brinkerhoff meeting?
I think we'll probably do that when we have that item. I think
Okay.
Mr. Downey will give us a little report, and we'll.
That's fine. And also, last week on the 19th, Mr. Mark Reed, the manager at the golf course, took me on a tour and gave me an overview of the golf course since I'm on the Golf Course Advisory Committee. So I'm looking forward to the first meeting of that, which is the 10th of March. Thank you.
Great. Mr. Burns?
Both of us were actually at the Park Foundation, and just to remind people that the Park Foundation has a membership drive going on, and we're going to have a fundraiser on April 23rd, and hopefully all of us will get invitations to that, because we're trying to do the program Safe Summer for Kids, because we have a lack of funding, and we're trying to get other people in the community to help us with that. That was last week. And about 2 weeks ago, the Arts and Crafts Advisory Committee met, and they are reviewing and updating the bylaws. That's all I have.
Thank you. Anyone else have anything? Ms. Connor?
Yes, I attended the youth council meeting, which was wonderful. Mr. Burns was sorely missed. They had a lovely card for him, and they spoke about how much they enjoyed working with you. And big shoes to follow, but I really enjoyed that meeting as well. I went to I attempted to attend the not Franklin, but the West Side Community Center meeting, but there was a sign that said, due to illness, it was canceled. So I'm trying.
That's all we can do.
That's right.
I'm sorry, can I just ask a question? Did you say the 23rd is the Park Foundation fundraiser?
Yes.
The 23rd of April, 5:30 to 7:30 at the Condor Express.
Great, thanks.
Yes. Mr. Casebeer?
Yes, Chairman Longstreet. I attended the Lower West Side Community Advisory.
Thank you. Turn on your No, other button. We want, there you go. Oh, there you go.
Here we go. We'll
We
try
want you
that
heard.
one more time. I attended the Lower West Side Community Advisory Council meeting, and then the next day, Susan Young and her assistant
Cyrus?
took us on a tour.
Iris? No?
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, I took a tour of the Lower West Side, and we looked at the 2 community gardens and where the Community Action Commission is situated. And I feel like there's a lot of opportunity there for us to do some good things for those folks down there.
I believe that was Pete Leva.
Yes,
He dropped by my office and told me that they had taken you on a tour. Yeah.
As one of the residents of the Lower West Side, yes, there's lots we can do down there. Okay, anybody else? I attended Brinkerhoff and the Park Foundation, and we will hear on Brinkerhoff later. So we will postpone the Youth Council report tonight since our intern is not here. Consent calendar. Summary of council actions. Are there any questions for staff? No, it looks okay. It was nice to see that Whole Foods donated more money since the Park Foundation was the recipient of their opening. So they've been a good community addition for us. Okay. Seeing no questions, we'll move on to the approval of minutes. We have minutes for January 27th and for February 1st. Do you want to take them separately or together?
I suggest together.
Okay. Well, then do I hear a motion for acceptance?
I hereby move to approve the minutes from January 27th and February the 1st.
I will second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay. So we are moving right along today, and that brings us to Street Tree Advisory Committee recommendations. Mr. Downey.
Chair Longstreet and Commissioners, the first item on the agenda is for 1327 Crestline Drive. There are 4 clumps of king palms currently located in the parkway. The applicant has expressed an interest to reuse those on the property and replace them with a designated street tree. The current designated street tree for that street is weeping bottlebrush. There are none planted in that section currently. The Street Tree Advisory Committee desires to discuss the designation of that section of street at their next meeting, and will come up with a recommendation to change that designation to something more fitting. The Street Tree Advisory Committee recommends that the removals be approved on the condition they're used on the property, and that they replace with the appropriate number of street trees to be determined at a future date.
Okay. Are there any questions of staff? Comments? Motion?
I would move that the commission approve the removal request, or the conditional removal request, which includes the conditions of the palms get relocated on the property, and the required number of the new designation of street tree gets planted on the frontage.
Second.
Okay. I would just make a comment that I understand the condition to use them on the property, and that this property owner is agreeable to this, but that I wouldn't care if they were used in another property within the city. So I don't know that making that condition is always so important. So with
The Longstreet?
Yeah.
I think it was that they just didn't want to see them chopped down. And I think that was the intent of the committee's recommendation, to keep them on the property.
Yeah, well, like I said, I wouldn't care if they relocated them to some other locale. I just don't want to be dictating someone's backyard use, you know.
Just as we're making a comment, I'm in agreement, and it's also, their front yard should probably be looked at with Santa Barbara beautiful. They've got a very nice front yard with a lot of planting, so I don't think they're going to do anything disruptive. So.
It was very nice. Okay, any other comments? All in favor of the motion? Aye. Opposed? Okay, so that brings us to our second item.
Chair Longstreet and Commissioners, 3880 State Street is proposing to redevelop the parking lot located on the side of the property on La Cumbre. The 2 trees in question are in poor condition, lean out over the public right-of-way, and the plan is to redo the parking lot. The Architectural Board of Review will be reviewing the landscape plan for that improvement when they hear the item. The Street Tree Advisory Committee staff recommend that these be approved for removal.
Okay. Questions of staff and our motion?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the setback tree removal at 3880 State Street.
Second.
Okay. Comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. And now we're to 2211 White Street, and we do have a speaker for this item. But we'll let staff present, and then we'll...
Chair Longstreet and Commissioners, the tree at 2211 White Avenue is a Japanese cedar, quite rare. The applicant was asked to supply a plot plan that was not available at the time the Street Tree Advisory Committee met. He has subsequently provided that plan, and it's been provided to you. The Single Family Design Board had approved this project well over a year ago, and in requesting to move forward with this project, it was determined that this tree should have been removed. The plan calls for a garage to be installed adjacent to the carport, and given all those hardscapes, there really isn't space for this tree. Staff would like to recommend that they consider planting a shade tree somewhere else on the property to take the place of this tree. Given the proposed development, the staff would recommend that this removal be approved.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Mixon, would you like to come up?
Madam Chair, fellow commissioners, excuse me. My name's Kent Mixon, and actually the spelling is wrong on the agenda. It's Mixon rather than Nixon, but that's minor. I'm the architect for this project, and I just want to shed a little light that Tim had kind of hit on. This project's been in the works for, almost two and a half years plus. And it was back in October, November, I believe, of 2008 that we received final approval for from a single-family dwelling. And then the project right after that went on hold when the economy started tanking, and it wasn't until the beginning of this year that we started getting back into this project and moving forward with completion of construction documents. And then it was at the submittal to the building department for a permit that this issue came up of this removal of this tree that's been on the plans for some time now. And it wasn't our intention to go about it this way. I think Tim has done a great job in terms of beginning to open the dialogue with the different review boards in town. And I certainly want to apologize if it feels like we're coming such late.
Don't worry.
And certainly it's from now forward, we will go about this much differently and come to you guys much earlier with this sort of application. So,
would you like to address the recommendation about a shade tree somewhere else on the property?
Yeah,
Is there a location that you can identify? We do have your plan in front of us,
Okay,
too.
yeah, so you can see where the garage and there's a carport that's going to stay where this one is right now, and then there'll be offset but directly adjacent is a garage. So there's not a lot of space on that side of the house, but there is a yard to the left there, and you can see. I think I don't remember if they have the plot plan or the landscape plan.
It looks more like the
it's
demo
probably just
plan.
an architectural plan. Oh, that might just be the demo plan.
Okay,
So,
okay, yeah.
But it might just be an architectural, so it doesn't
Yeah.
show landscape. But I know there are several palms and stuff proposed in that yard to the left. I know that tree doesn't provide a lot of shade, and the palms probably that I think we have 4 or 5 that will be in that small portion of yard on the left half. But I don't know what would be proposed. I mean, I guess we would be open to that, but I know the 4 or 5 palms that will be in that portion of the yard will definitely be providing more shade than what this tree is currently giving. So
I mean, I don't
that
understand why you don't want a tree in the carport.
growing through the roof.
Must be heck to open the door.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you very much for coming today. Is there any questions? Mr. Casebeer.
Mr. Downey, what would be the possibility, this is pie in the sky, but of transplanting this tree? It's such a beautiful tree, and it's kind of a unique. Is it just an arm and a leg to accomplish that?
Chair Longstreet, Commissioner Casebearer, the trees of this size are moved all the time. But because this one is so rare, there haven't been any real studies on how well it takes to relocation. It seems to me that it would be an experiment at great cost to the applicant.
Well, maybe the applicant could donate the tree to someone willing to take on the project that would want that, because it is a specimen. Okay, but I wouldn't want that to be a condition.
Okay. Any other questions of staff? I would entertain a motion. We have a staff recommendation to agree with the removal.
I'll make that motion.
Okay.
I'll second it.
Approve the removal of the tree on White Avenue, 2211 White Avenue.
Okay, we have a second.
Yes.
Any other discussion? Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Right. It moves forward, slowly down the path. Okay, and that brings us to Brinkerhoff. Mr. Downey.
Chair Longstreet and Commissioners, this item was reviewed by this commission in December and postponed with the direction to have a meeting with the neighborhood to discuss considerations for tree removal and street tree designation process. That meeting was held on February 10th, and we had quite a turnout from the neighborhood, all interested very interested in the process and the process for designated new street trees. The result of that meeting, the applicant would like to further postpone this item so that they can develop a plan to phase out removal of trees and to propose designated new street trees for the section. Staff concurs with that recommendation to postpone.
Thank you. Commissioner Wiscombe and myself attended that meeting. I think it went a long way towards helping the neighborhood build a plan. It's a unique neighborhood in that they're looking at their historic designation, along with having the Mission Bridge project and a lighting project happening all at one time. So I am glad they're going slowly to come up with the trees they want to plant, and I think by the end of it we'll have a cohesive plan with good neighborhood buy-in and a very beautiful block at the end of it. So.
Yes, Chair Longstreet, I agree with your comments, and I think Mr. Downey did a great job at the meeting of guiding them, giving them direction that they need to go in to finish this process. And I agree with your comments.
Yeah, I really like the idea that it's going forward cooperatively, so thank you. So do we need a motion to postpone this item until indefinitely? Yeah, we'll postpone it indefinitely.
So moved.
Second?
Okay, any discussion?
Actually, I do. I'm going to vote in favor of it, but one of the issues that came up when they first brought up was all the pine needles, and they were thinking that they were not going to have the trees droppings swept. And I went on the property a couple days ago, and everything looked clean. And that was an issue they had with that with the Mission Creek. Did we work that out, or did does anybody know how they've got that worked?
Street and Commissioner Burns, the bridge project has actually hired a landscaper to periodically come through and clean up that debris while the bridge project is going on.
Yeah, very nice of the bridge contractor. Any other questions or comments? Okay, I'm going to call for the vote. All in favor of postponement, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, that passes. And that brings us to item D, alternate street tree species for the 400 block of Montgomery Street.
Long Street and Commissioners, the 400 block of Montgomery Street is a 1 block long street. Currently, there are several species planted on that street, none of which are the designated species Moreton Bay chestnut. The Street Advisory Committee and staff determined that the site would be a perfect site to plant this tree, and didn't feel that designating an alternate species would be appropriate in this case. The applicant expressed concern that he was unable to find the Moreton Bay chestnut. However, staff has located some and will be happy to work with the applicant to locate the trees. The recommendation from Street Tree Advisory Committee is to deny an alternate species on this block.
Okay, thank you. Questions, comments? Motion? Oh,
I
yes.
do have it. On this block, 1 block long, there must be 20 trees planted. Will they remain, or will the chestnut replace those trees that are there?
Chair Longstreet, Commissioner Case-Beer, the designated street tree is for future plantings. It is not a consideration for removal of existing trees unless there are other items to consider as well for that tree.
Thank you.
Good question. Is there a motion?
Yes. I'll move to recommend that the commission deny the request on the 400 block of Montgomery Street for an alternate street tree.
Okay, thank you. Second?
Second.
Okay, discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, and this brings us to our last tree item. I just need to comment, Montgomery and White Street I had never heard of before. This has been a great tour month for me. Okay, this is the 0 block of West Victoria.
Chair Longstreet and Commissioners, the 0 block of West Victoria Street is currently designated Queen Palms. A project is proposed to demolish the existing grocery store that has been closed and change that section of street to allow more space for trees than the Queen Palms allow. The Street Tree Advisory Committee has yet to approve their minutes from this last meeting, and there's been a question raised as to whether the minutes are accurate for this item. So staff is requesting to postpone this and send it back to Street Tree Advisory Committee for a re-recommendation.
Okay. So we have a request to postpone.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, so we've postponed Victoria Street. And that brings us to our new business. We have a storm damage report. Thank you.
Chair Longstreet and Commissioners, this last month we had a number of storms come through, and at the last meeting you requested a report based on those storms. The one thing I want to share before we get into the actual damage that occurred is a little background. When we trim trees, we also inspect them for safety. We get trimming requests in two ways. There's the scheduled work that we do every year, and there's requests that people call in to request a service or an inspection. Each time we go to those sites, those trees are inspected for safety. There are times where even after that inspection, trees fall over, sometimes for unknown reasons. So regardless of the storm, I just wanted to bring it to mind that sometimes trees fall and we don't know why. So,
But if you're not there, are you sure that they fell?
When I observe them, I do. The first one I want to bring to your attention happened the first day of the storms. This is a street tree adjacent to Alameda Park on Mitchell-Terena. It looks rather ominous in this photo, but the only damage was to telephone poles, the wires, and a small piece of fascia was knocked off of one building. No cars were damaged in this incident. The following day, we had our microburst, which is a wind that comes down and blows real strong at the surface. The microburst that hit West Haley Street knocked down 5 mature Eucalyptus fisifolias, which subsequently knocked down the wires and the telephone poles, damaging 5 separate vehicles. These trees were pruned in November of 2007, and we spent a good portion. The trees fell just before noon. We had the site clear enough that utility crews could get their work done overnight. By 8 p.m. the following day, the stumps were removed. These trees did not show any signs that there was any problems with the trees, and in fact, microbursts were reported to knock down mature trees for no reasons whatsoever other than the wind.
Comment?
Sure.
I just wanted to say how lucky we were that those roads were closed off due to the work that was going on that the city crews were doing beforehand.
On the bridge?
Yes. Isn't that incredible?
That we didn't have traffic on that.
5 trees down. I mean, that's incredible. That
During the middle of
no
the
one
day.
was hurt.
And as you see in this picture, they were very large trees.
Yes, very large trees.
That evening, we had 2 other incidents. One was this tree adjacent to Montecito Country Club in the right-of-way that fell across the road. There was no damage to anything on this one. It simply fell over. I did not get an opportunity to inspect this one before it was all cleaned up. I suspect it was the moist soils and breezes that we had that knocked this one down. In addition to this one, and unfortunately I don't have a picture of the next one, is adjacent to Hale Park, there was a large oak tree that had a split in the trunk as a result of the storm, and we had to remove that tree. I did have a photo, but it was very dark and would not have shown up. We also lost this large eucalyptus tree in La Mesa Park, also due to wet soil and potentially high winds. And this bay tree at Oak Park, the the soil was extremely saturated there when I went out to this site. That's the highlights of what we did. Also, in the Haley Street cleanup, I wanted to just pass on thanks to all those who helped with that. It was not only our forestry staff, but Parks Division staff, Street Division staff, the person who's running contract for Haley Bridge cooperated with us by opening things up so that we could get in there and do our stuff, and she actually kind of provided some pedestrian traffic control. The Streets Division and Parks Division staff also went throughout the city picking up smaller limbs and palm fronds when we were busy with the bigger stuff. So I just wanted to pass along my appreciation for all the help that we received.
I stopped by there about 5 o'clock that day, and it was amazing to see everybody out there, and there were a lot of people working on that. So, yes, thanks to everyone.
Chair Longstreet and Commission, I would like to take this opportunity while Tim and Santos are here, and I'm sorry that their crews are not here, but they are the hidden heroes in this community, like many of the public works staff that get called out in the middle of the night out of their beds to respond to remove trees that have impacted homes and electrical wires in our streets. And these folks respond, they do it with a smile. It just so happened that most of these trees fell during the workday, but that is the more rare occasion. And I just have to say, I think the forestry staff and the park staff that respond on a 24-hour basis do a great job, and I just really wanted to recognize them and thank them for that.
I think we all appreciate that hard work, and I think, you know, like you said about the 5 trees going down, if there were a defect with the tree, we'd expect 1 tree to go down. You know you're dealing with a special weather event when you have 5 go down, because those weren't 5 damaged trees in any way. So that was pretty amazing piece of weather we had. We're not used to it. But thank you for that report. I'm sorry we lost that many mature trees in those events, but I guess it could have been worse. Okay, that wraps up our new business. Administrative and staff reports. Do we have anything to report out on budget?
Chair Longstreet, I really do not. We are just in the process of submitting our budget to the city administrator and preparing for our meeting with him, and beginning to have some discussion amongst staff for the budget work session with the commission related to some of the different options that we'll be looking at. And we do not have, I'm sorry, I should have mentioned this at the beginning, we do not have a report this evening for item number 6.
Okay.
So.
Well, we all have the budget hearing dates on our schedule, so we'll be working hard in April and May on that. With that, we conclude our business, and I think our world's shortest meeting.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? New commissioners don't think this is the way it is all of the time.